welcome to another episode of the Godless Todd Show podcast. This is episode number 5, and it's called An Atheist's Soul. Now, of course, I don't believe living things, or non-living things for that matter, have souls. I don't really believe in souls. No part of you lives forever. There's no afterlife toward which your soul can travel. The closest thing humans have to a soul is memory. Memory shapes us. It defines who we are as people. Every past experience that you remember influences your attitude and decisions today. Your decisions, your passions, your anguish, your joy, all of these are products of past experiences stored in compartments in your brain. I believe that everything is physical. There is no spiritual side to the universe. Everything is physical, even thoughts. Thoughts are trains of brain cells connected together through synapses, those minuscule bursts of electricity and chemicals that travel between nerve cells and brain cells. You have no supernatural essence that was placed into you by some bearded man in the sky when you were born. It's all memory, and it's all physical. Having said that, I do think that there is a small part of us that lives on after we die. And that is through the memories of our friends, family, and loved ones, also in their physical thoughts. So I don't believe in a soul, but I do believe our memories can last for years and years. I spoke about my late best friend in episode 1. He's gone now, and I'm still deeply saddened by this, but his memory lives on in my mind. The more I talk about him and reminisce over the times we've had, like calling up the local high school radio station and goofing off with the DJs, for example, the longer his life has an impact on the future. You don't even know this person, and I'm talking about him, but just me telling you that he was very special to me leaves a small imprint in your own mind and memory. And that makes me happy. My buddy lives on. This is another reason why I'm doing this podcast. I want there to be something of me to live on after I die. I want to leave an impression, an imprint on history, if only a tiny one in the form of an obscure podcast. I want my so-called essence, my memories, to be shared by others. I want to be remembered. I want my memories to outlive me by many years to come. What I really want to do is live forever. Now, how in the hell are you going to do that, Todd? Well, I look forward to the Singularity. That's the moment in time when it is possible to download one's consciousness into a computer. That's right, I believe that our memories and personality have a good chance of becoming data in my lifetime. And I'm going to do everything I can to be part of that experiment. I want to become Todd 2.0. It sounds like a science fiction movie, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the only option if I want to live past my body's functionality. Wouldn't you get bored after a while, you might be asking? Well, I'd rather be bored and live as long as possible than not live at all anymore. I'd rather feel something than nothing. The late, great George Carlin said, "That's the whole point of life, not dying." He, of course, wanted to be hooked up to machines if he was in a state where even the slightest chance of reviving him could take place. He wasn't so lucky, unfortunately, but his memories live on, and his comedy lives on, and all in a physical universe. This episode has become a weird digression into what sounds like sci-fi nonsense. Well, I know it's a long shot, but it's what I'm willing to shoot for. My point of all this is that we don't have souls, so we don't, in fact, live forever. We all die. That's just the way things are. Let's make the most of this existence while we have the opportunity. There are no pearly gates or bright white lights at the end of the tunnel. You get one shot at life, not two. This isn't a test. Heaven and hell are here on earth. You either do everything you can to live as joyfully as possible, or you spend your time in a miserable daze believing that this life is just a test and you'll be in heaven after you die. This would be a living hell, if you ask me, a hell on earth. Having children is a great way to live on in memory. Your memories will, hopefully, if you're not some kind of ass of a parent, be cherished by your children. I know that I have deeply enjoyable memories of my father, who passed earlier this year, or last year. He would not have enjoyed knowing that I do this podcast, by the way. He loved to make people laugh by doing funny voices and characters and such. Despite our differences, there wasn't much we agreed on. I loved my father very much. His memory lives on in my brain in one of the many folds of gray matter embedded in my skull. As long as I'm alive, maybe forever, my father will still be with me. Some people ask if I or other atheists believe in a spirit instead of a soul. Not this atheist. I know Sam Harris has talked about spirituality in his wonderful book, The End of Faith, but I disagree even with using the word spirit or spirituality. Like I mentioned in episode 2 of this podcast, words are only as powerful as their meaning to the average person. If you're going to get a point across, most people would equate the word spirit with soul or even ghost. I don't believe in any of those things. I don't believe it's possible to be an atheist and be spiritual at the same time. It doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, Mr. Harris, I love your books, but there aren't any spirits, and there's no such thing as spirituality. I get asked lots of questions when I mention that I'm an atheist. One of them is if I believe in ghosts. Nope, again, this is just another word for soul or spirit. Ghosts are, at the most, hallucinations or a flickering out of the corner of your eye that is most likely a reflection of the TV on your glasses when you turn your head. But you may say, so many people have said they've seen ghosts. They can't all be wrong, can they? Yes, they can, all of them. There are no floating souls around. There are no ghosts. Why would a God even allow for someone to be a ghost anyway? Can he not decide whether or not a person's soul goes to heaven or hell? Maybe that ghost led a perfectly good life and had that one flaw, like liking Nickelback's music or something. If someone still has work left to do on earth, then why did they die? Why are they floating around scaring people when they could have been doing God's work when they were alive? I guess God works in mysterious ways. Another thing about ghosts and their so-called sightings, many people have just bad eyesight, or are drunk, or on medication, or something else. Your eyesight is far from perfect. Did you know that right now what you see in front of you is not the complete picture of reality? It's because everyone has a blind spot in their vision. This is caused by the optic nerve, which evolved to exist right in the middle of the back of the eyeball, where the images we see are processed by your brain. Your brain is so smart, quote unquote, that it fills in the blank space with what it thinks resembles the rest of the image. Do a simple Google search of blind spot eye test, and you'll find a great example of how this works. What you think you're seeing is not reality. It's trickery by your brain. Why am I talking about this? Well, my point is, just because someone says they saw a ghost doesn't mean they saw a ghost or had an out-of-body experience or saw a light at the end of the tunnel. What you see is never what's really there. But let me get back to memory. Think about an elderly person who's unfortunately suffering from dementia or maybe Alzheimer's. That person's soul is slowly fading with each passing day. It's very sad to watch. I observed my grandmother going through dementia, and she was not the same person anymore who used to pick me up from school when I was a kid. She had changed. She used to think bugs were crawling in her bed, and she saw these messages written on the wall. She was losing her mind. She lost some of her memory. She lost part of the closest thing that she could call a soul. When I get that old, I don't know what I want to do. I don't think I want to suffer like that. I used to believe that I wanted to live as long as possible, but now that I'm older and have seen older people effectively lose their essence, I'm not sure I want to be still alive at 95. It depends on how good my health is, of course, or if I've made it to the Singularity. But I'm going to do my damnedest to live a healthy life for as long as I can. But if the outlook is bad, meaning if my soul has rotted away, if my memory has rotted away, then I think I might consider another way out. And my memories will just have to live on without me. So this episode just turned a little creepy, and I apologize for that. I didn't mean to bring everybody down on this episode. I just wanted to explain what I believe consciousness to be and how we should cherish it while we still have the capacity to cherish it. Don't live your life wishing you could have done something else with it. Do what you love to do. Remember it. Write it down in a journal or a diary, or keep a blog, or start a podcast even. It's easy. These are your memories. These are your soul. Cherish them. All right, I'll be back. Cheers.